What's up, everyone? Philly Insider here. It's been a minute since we talked some Phillies. I think last Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, Drew. So we got a week of stuff to catch up on, but also a game today to catch up on. Completed the sweep. Really awesome series for the Phils. They just dominated, honestly. Like, it was not super competitive, to be quite honest. And yeah, sure, the Phillies did pull away towards the end, and today was a closer game, but they were pretty much in control of this series from the jump, Drew. So pretty awesome way to start the season. Or not even just the season, but the month of April, this series, you name it. I mean, it's been awesome lately.
Yeah, I mean, the only guy that made this series close was Taijuan Walker, and he wasn't even on the team yesterday. So it's like kind of discouraging a little bit, but, you kind of go with it, I guess. I mean, he looked mostly fine until the 3-run home run. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Jake Cronenworth hits a home run off of you. I mean, it is what it is. Lefty versus righty, it's going to be what it's going to be. But, I mean, other than that, I think he looked fine. I mean, up until the 3-run home run that inning, he kind of he didn't get no help behind him, and that missed strikeout call at the beginning of the game hurt him. And I think JT was pretty displeased at that umpire come the end of the day there. But, I mean, overall, the bullpen looked good this weekend. The rotation was really good this weekend. So, I mean, really all you can ask from the pitching staff.
For sure. Yeah, and as far as Taijuan goes, I thought he got away with some pitches earlier on. I didn't think his line was necessarily a great representation of how he pitched today. That being said, he got through 6 innings with 3 earned runs, so I was very pleased with that. Unfortunately, it's weird to say this, but unfortunately, he was very efficient with his pitches. So he went out there for the 7th, and I'm okay with that. You need to stretch him out. Topper probably should have had a shorter leash on him once the bases started getting crowded. I didn't love that he didn't have a quick hook there in that inning. So that was really what came back to bite them. But what do you know, Drew? Taijuan Walker gets the win in a game where we score 8 runs. I mean, it's just the same story year in and year out. 8.53 ERA, but hey, he's 1-0. So
yep,
he's good in everyone's book, right? He's the Game 4 starter. So
he's the Phillies Spencer Strider.
Right, exactly. So that being said, I am glad I said this before the stream started, that Turnbull is going to be starting on Tuesday. You give him one last I don't want to say it's his last opportunity, but you give him one start to see what he can do. Obviously, build off of what he's done in his first 5, 6, whatever it is, starts of the season. And to also say, look, this could be my last start. I'm going to go out there and show you why I'm the better guy for the 5th spot. And you do have to consider with Turnbull managing his innings because he hasn't pitched a lot the past few years. And obviously, Taijuan's arm, maybe it can handle more. But again, Taijuan was only throwing 92 today. I think topped out at that. So, yeah, when you leave it in the zone, eventually you play with fire, it's going to burn you. So that's what happened with him today. I'm not really going to complain too much about it. If the offense had been a little bit worse today, which they were great today, if they had just been slightly not as good, we'd probably be very upset with Taijuan Walker right now. So
yeah, definitely.
That should be noted. But as far as that goes, I mean, that's your 5th starter. I mean, the rest of the rotation has been unbelievable. We'll get into them in a minute. I'm not going to really complain too much about Taijuan when we have 5 other guys who can also take the ball on any given day and give us the performances they've been giving us. So
yeah,
that's kind of where I stand on Taijuan today. The offense was awesome. Stott, it feels like he's maybe starting to dig himself out of the early season hole that he was in. I think it was his first 2 home run game of his career today, so good for him. JT, he's starting to figure some things out too. He was hot to start the year, I believe, in the first week or so. Got a little bit cold. He seems to be getting back on track right now. Good day today too. And Bohm has just been unbelievable lately. I mean, that guy has been hitting the crap out of the baseball. It feels like he's been hitting anything in the zone, and he's been smart at the plate. Like Drew said earlier in the season, he might hit 40 doubles this year. It's very realistic. And he also might hit 20 home runs, 25 home runs if he keeps up at this pace. Maybe he doesn't even need to if he hits that many doubles. But he's been, I mean, this whole weekend, I believe he had multi-hit games in every single game of this series. And to start the season, he's over 1,000 OPS. He's slugging over 600. The guy is just on an unbelievable tear right now. So that to that point of the lineup, I mean, they really did carry the team today. And you love to see what those 3 guys specifically did, but especially what Bohm is doing right now.
Yeah, and kind of like I said, I think last week, but I mean, Trey and Bohm have been both incredible, and the guy in between them hasn't really got going yet. I mean, Bryce
Yeah,
Harper, I mean, he's hit a couple home runs, but other
right.
than that, it doesn't really feel like he's locked in the way he normally is. But I mean, if he gets going and these guys are hitting like that around him, I mean, Philly's going to score 8 runs every night. I mean, there's really no way to stop him. Especially, got Schwarber at the top. He's been good as well. I mean, it's just an unbelievable 1 through 4 if they're good. Those guys are all going good. I mean, it's very reminiscent of what the Padres had a couple years ago with Juan Soto, Manny Machado, Tatis, and Cronenworth. I mean, that's an incredible top 4 as well. But they obviously no longer have Soto. But I mean, yeah, that kind of showed this weekend as well. The Padres' offense is just terrible. They have no hope. If they're facing a right-handed pitcher, it feels like they just don't have any chance because their best hitters are right-handed. And
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of their flaw coming into this season. I think a lot of people knew because they lost Soto. And I mean, Ranger, it doesn't matter who he's facing right now. I mean,
Not right now. No.
he's ridiculous. So, but yeah, I mean, it's kind of scary to think about if Bryce gets hot, what this offense can do for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And you said it perfectly. I mean, if that's our biggest problem right now is Bryce, yeah, good luck trying to get this lineup to cool off. So even Schwarber, like he cooled off a little bit over the past week or so. He hasn't been as good as he was to start the season. But today he kind of gets back on track. And that's the thing is Schwarber hasn't stayed down for long when he's been down to start the season. Whereas in years
Right.
past, we've seen him obviously, I don't want to say mentally check out, but it's been not great at the plate in April and May for him over his first 2 years as a Philly. So this has been a big improvement so far. I know he's still hitting 200 with a 700 OPS or 707, but I feel like he's looked a lot better to start the season. He's been a lot more locked in. And even Castellanos today, I don't know how the Padres walked him 3 times. They did. He scored twice. And there have been some better signs with him this week, I think. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not going to be overly excited about it because he's still not playing very good baseball and he's still swinging a lot of bad pitches. But he has been better. I think there is an upward trend for him. And I think he can get to a reasonable level by the end of May. I think that's very feasible as of right now. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be better in the playoffs than he is right now because you're going to face a lot of good pitching. That's a problem for later. We'll figure that out by the time we get to July and August and September. We'll have a better idea of that. But as far as just any sort of positive signs you can take going into next month and hopefully into June, I feel a little bit better about Castellanos after this series as well.
Yeah, I do as well. I mean, he's been better this last week, kind of like you said. And I mean, like if he's taking walks, like I don't care. Just get on base. I mean,
Yeah.
the guys around him have been so good because I mean, outside of Stott, I mean Rojas has been really good the last week, and Marsh is obviously Marsh. I mean, he's been incredible to start the year. He's kind of cooling off a little bit now, but I mean, outside of like this last week, Marsh has had an incredible start to the season, and Stott, I mean, you're not going to keep him down forever. He's going to hit at least probably 270. I mean, and Rojas, he's like I said, beginning of the season, he's getting to face a lot of left-handed relievers, and he did it today. He had a ground rule double RBI off of that left-handed reliever. I forget which one it was, but I mean, it's exactly. Was it?
I believe so.
Yeah, Wandy Peralta. Yes.
Fought off a number of changeups before that pitch, and even got a bad strike call to start the at bat.
Right, and like I said though earlier this season, I mean, he's sandwiched in between either Marsh and Schwarber or Stott and Schwarber. So I mean, he's going to see a ton of those left-handed relievers, and if he's going to crush them like that, it's going to make this lineup super deep.
Absolutely, yeah. I feel very good about what Rojas has done the past couple of weeks, man. I mean, sure, he wasn't perfect this week. It wasn't his best week. It wasn't like the week before. But you're going to take what you got from him this week 10 times out of 10 because
250 batting average on the season now.
Yep. I mean, and he's got 620 at 1 OPS, and a lot of that is from the start of the season too. Like if you take out the first week of the season, he's probably closer to 700 OPS. He's probably hitting around 270, I would guess. He's been fine. I mean,
no strikeouts either.
Yep, he's putting the ball in play. He even hit the one double play he had today that he hit into was hit hard enough to where he still got out at first base. So I'd rather have that problem where he's still getting a decent piece on the ball. I don't know exactly what the exit velo was on that or anything like that, but just using the eye test, I mean, I'll take that over him not putting the ball in play or looking sailor and making weak contact like he was the first week. So just by getting those reps, the Phillies, I'm sure, have to be pleased with this plan that they had of just letting him ride it out. giving him a long leash, and the results are starting to be there now. Like you're starting to see some improvements, some small changes. There's a lot of things to be excited about with him, and yeah, I feel very good about him going into the month of May as we kind of wrap up April here. And like you said, Marsh, like he still had a pretty solid week too. It wasn't what he was doing at the start of the season. He was pretty unbelievable, but he's still producing at a pretty high clip. And yeah, you still want to see the improvement versus lefties, but that's something that you want to see come with time. And then as far as the only other thing I have to say really on the offense this week, Joe, Trey continues to stay hot. No concerns
Yeah.
about him. You tip your cap on the Tatis throw today. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's a reason that guy's a platinum glove, and it's mostly because of his arm. So
Yeah.
you tip your cap there. But the only other thing I really have to say on the offense is Cody Clemens coming in with that big home run this past week. That's what he does. He's not going to be a playoff bat most likely. He's going to get some looks throughout the regular season. And just like last year, he had a little hot streak. That's all that mattered. And Whit Merrifield was better this past week. I'll give him some credit. He's been a little bit better as of late. Obviously, he puts the ball in play, but it's starting to drop for some hits. He's coming around to score. I'm not a huge believer in Whit Merrifield, but if he can do what he's done this past week, I think he'll be okay. So that's
like
one of the things around the offense.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but
you're good. I'm done.
I was talking to my buddy yesterday about it, and like if Whit is a 250 hitter off the bench, he's not going to strike out a ton, which is exactly what you want out of him. He's shown that already this year. He doesn't strike out a lot, but that's exactly what you need out of him. You need him to be a 250, 275 hitter off the bench, and it's probably been really hard for him to adjust, like I said in the last pod, I think. But I think he's kind of coming around a little bit, and he only played, I believe, once this week or maybe twice. But, regardless, it's definitely good to see him kind of digging himself out of that hole.
For sure, and it's going to be a smaller sample size. So though he may hit 250 in the regular season, the playoffs is a whole new season, and that is where I think we're gonna see him be of value as a pinch runner. He can play a few different positions. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be used a lot defensively in the playoffs, but pinch running will be somewhat helpful. Getting the bat on the baseball, I would not be opposed to pinch hitting him for Castellanos in the playoffs in certain situations. They won't do that, but I think that would be smart. There's other guys you may pinch hit him for too, just to make contact. So we'll see. It really depends on who's hot and who's not once you get to October. But I think if he can, like you said, if he can hit 250, if he can build upon what he did this past week and just stay at a pretty steady level, and just we know what we're going to get out of him, he will have value in a specific role in the playoffs, and that's why they signed him. So I don't think he's going to be worth the $8 million. I thought that was a high price tag when they signed him, but I still think he can be a value to the team without living up to the full price of the contract. And part of that was they overpaid because he was going to probably take a lesser deal to go start somewhere else for a team that wasn't going to contend. So they overpaid to get him in the building. But I don't have anything else on the offense, to be quite honest. I don't know if I'm going to have too much on the pitching either, because the pitching has pretty much spoken for itself. They've been dominant, and they've been better than the 2011 rotation through 28 games, 29 games, whatever it is now. They have been unbelievable. I don't really know what else to say about them at this point, except it's just crazy. Ranger Suarez through 1 month is probably one of your Cy Young candidates right now. He's at the least going to win the pitcher of the month this month, I would think.
No doubt.
I haven't checked the other guys in the league. Maybe someone else has been pretty unbelievable, but he'll be in the running for it.
Yeah.
And go for it.
There's another guy. You might know him. His name's Zach Wheeler. He's pretty good too. Yeah. Gallon's also had a pretty good start of the season as well, I believe. He just exited his start yesterday with hamstring tightness. So, any kind of innings that you lose as a starting pitcher nowadays, it seems like it doesn't matter a ton if you lose 1 or 2 starts, but if you're going to have Wheeler throw in 210 innings versus if Gallon misses a couple starts, only throws 180, makes a big difference sometimes as far as innings pitch goes. So, but like that's a long way down the road, obviously. And Wheeler could obviously miss a couple starts or whatever it may be. But other than that, the rotation, it's just been more of the same from the last 2 weeks. It's just ridiculous. What can you really say? They're just they're unbelievable.
Sure. Nola was great on Friday night. He pitched 8 strong, did his job, very quality start, and a quality start by definition too. Struck out 10, I believe, in that game.
Yep.
He was awesome. So credit to Knowles. He's definitely bounced back after that first start. A lot of people were saying that they overpaid him, blah, blah, blah. He has definitely silenced that for the time being. Obviously, it's a long season. We'll see what Nola does, but he was great. Wheeler, again, doing his job. A one hitter through 6. Yeah. Good luck touching that guy. Obviously, he had some walks in that one, but I mean, he was still really, really good. Powered us to a win in the one game in the Reds series. We earned a split. Obviously, you'd prefer if we could have won that series against the Reds. There were opportunities, but the one game we got absolutely outclassed. Unfortunately, it wasn't a pretty one. Chris Sanchez didn't have his best stuff that day. That was kind of the outlier this past week. Obviously, defensively, it wasn't the best either, but that's one you just wipe it from the memory.
Yeah.
Put it in the past and you move on.
And it seems like they did that. I mean, they played very well after that. So
4 straight wins after that. So we'll take what we can get there. As far as, starting rotation, again, not much else to say. Ranger, we talked about him. Turnbull did his job, 5 strong. Yeah. Just, again, limiting base runners. Pitching really, really well. He's doing
He's doing what?
I just said he's doing what he needs to do as a number 5 starter. That's exactly what you needed him. And as far as 6-man rotation goes, they are pushing Wheeler back this week, so they will start Turnbull on Tuesday. I'm not sure what they'll do after that. I think they're going to see how Turnbull does. That's what I've seen. I don't know if you've seen anything else on that, Drew.
I didn't even see anything about the Turnbull thing either, so I haven't really been on Twitter much today. But, I mean, like, they're not going to go 6-man rotation just because, I mean, Wheeler hates it. I don't think Nola likes it much either. But, I mean, outside of that, it's just an innings concern for Turnbull, I believe. And, I mean, if Taiwan pitches himself out of a job, then Turnbull's probably the guy, I would assume. But, I mean, Taiwan is going to have a couple pretty bad starts in a row for them to consider even doing anything, I would assume.
Yeah, I could see them running it for another week or something like that. But I just don't see it. I don't know if it's necessarily going to be something that sticks. But I said before the year started, I expected it would happen at some point. Even though Wheeler doesn't like it, it does help manage these guys' innings. Once you get to October, that makes a huge difference. Even if you just do it for a couple weeks, it really helps. It's going to help manage Turnbull's innings. It's going to help Walker probably get a little more rested as he comes into his next start. And then you kind of find your rhythm as you get later into the season. So I'm okay with doing it for a little bit, but it's not going to be something they're going to do the whole season. So, and no, I don't think they're going to trade Walker. I don't think anyone would want to trade for Walker if he's going to throw 92. So that would surprise me. And especially if he does pitch himself out of a job and Turnbull gets that spot, he's definitely not going to get traded because there's not going to be any takers for that. So Fortunately, that would put us in a spot where we have a lot of money just sitting in the bullpen. And you don't really want to be in this.
Or a lot of money not even on the roster.
Yeah. Let's hope we don't get to that point. It would take a lot to get there. But
yeah, I feel like if he's that bad that they do that, I mean, it'd be disastrous. Like
that's a lot of money to eat.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, I think with them probably going over the third tax next year, this offseason, they probably wouldn't be afraid to do it and just say, you're gone. But, I mean, I guess we'll see because they're going to need to make a spot for Andrew Painter next year.
Right. I think you try your best to find a trade partner, even if it means attaching someone to that deal.
Right.
And even if he's bad this year, I think he sticks around and they phantom IL him or they stash him in the bullpen for a little bit. It would shock me if they DFA'd him at some point. Like that would really blow my mind. Next year, there's 2 years left on his deal. So it might be a little bit of a different conversation, not completely different. But like you said, they're going over the luxury tax. So we'll see what happens there. I'm sure they would prefer not to have to do that, but we'll find out. And on that note, speaking of DFAs, Ricardo Pinto did get DFA'd. He was the obvious choice. He had a really cool first outing, cool story, and then didn't really follow that up. Unfortunately, the last few outings were just pretty disastrous. I mean, we were up 9-0 after Wheeler almost gets a no-hitter, and he almost makes that a game late, and Alvarado had to come in and warm up and throw a pitch to get us out of that game. So, not great there. But you know what? If he passes through, it's fine. AAA depth. We obviously know he can eat innings. I'm not sure if he's the most effective mop-up guy. Dylan Covey, when healthy, I think is pretty solid at it. But that was, not the best way you wanted to see the Ricardo Pinto second stint with the Phillies end. But anyway, that was just a little side note there. And speaking of the bullpen, I mean, I don't know if you had anything else to say on Pinto, but
no, that's kind of just no story on that one, really.
Right. Yeah. The bullpen, I don't have too much to say. They were strong, but again, they really haven't they haven't been used very much because the starters have been going so deep into games. Still concerned about Sir Anthony. that continues to be, unfortunately, one of the only concerns out of the pen. Soto's up and down. That's kind of the story there for the whole season so far, through 1 month.
Good inning out of Marte today. That was good to see.
Yes, absolutely. Did almost give up a home run to Manny Machado, but that's going to happen from time to time. And Marte has been really solid this year. I mean, he's at the very least very solid depth from the right-hand side. So good with him. Alvarado's been doing his job, a little shaky here and there, but overall he's been Alvarado. And my only takeaway from the bullpen this week is I didn't really love having Kerkering throw 40 pitches. I don't know why you did that when your bullpen's so rested and when Kerkering was drafted in the 5th, 6th round because he couldn't start and they knew he had to be a reliever. I don't really know. I don't get the benefit of stretching him out there. I didn't love it, but I mean, if that's my biggest concern of the week from the bullpen, that tells you a lot. I mean, it wasn't really performance-based with them. They've been fine. The Red Series was up and down, but the bullpen continues to be a bright spot on this team for the most part. And again, they're not even having to use their top guys right now because they're not in many games. Hoffman was good today too. He continues.
And yesterday.
Yeah, and yesterday his command looks a lot better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, bullpen was. I think it's pretty straightforward with them too. The whole team. I think it's just shocking how straightforward it is in April. I thought we'd be sitting here complaining about how they were 4 games under 500. They were off to a slow start after saying they were going to start fast, and nothing's going right. But a lot of things are going right for this team right now. I'm really shocked.
Yeah, they're flying out of the gate. I mean, I think they're tied for the second best record in baseball. I mean, there's no way to stop them when they're playing like they are now. I mean, they're a scary team, and like I said, Bryce isn't even hot yet. So
yeah,
it's crazy. Like the middle of the lineup, Bohm, Realmuto, Marsh. Like no matter how you've ordered them, they've all been so good. I mean, it's like an unstoppable force. Yeah, Alec Bohm, the GOAT. Yeah, this year definitely. I mean, he's probably the best third baseman in baseball right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
crazy to say.
Through April, he probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it shows like his WAR. I believe he's top 6. So that's just if that was on your bingo card, props to you. I mean, I had him hitting 40 doubles, but I didn't have him with 1,000 OPS.
Yeah. No.
Crazy. I mean, he's slugging like. He's pulling the ball with power to left field. He's shooting the ball to right field when he needs to. I mean, he's just going so good right now. It's definitely a special watch.
Yeah, he's always so good at spraying the field, too. That was one thing even when I was frustrated with him, he has done such a good job of that throughout his career. If you're like an old school baseball fan, you love guys who do the little things right like that. They take the outside pitch to the outside part of the field, or the opposite part of the field. But as far as this comment goes, for Philip Bourne, welcome in, by the way. I haven't acknowledged the people making the comments, but thank you guys for tuning in so far. And thank you, Philip Bourne. I think this is the first time we've seen you. So welcome to the channel. But he says, well, they stopped moving Bohm to first base. Makes no sense to disrupt his great development. I'm not super concerned about that. They do that a lot when there's a lefty on the mound and they overload with righties. I don't think it's the worst strategy, to be honest, either. And it just gives it gives other guys some days off too. So I'm not overly worried about that. I think last year he dealt with it fine. He was still much better at third base last year while playing some first base too. And also that was because I think it was only really because Bryce was on paternity leave.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He's only played 2 games at first base.
Yeah. So it's not like it's not really something I think this year I'm really concerned about. So I was going to say, I don't remember him playing first that much this year. So
yeah. And Bryce is going to play 155 games. I mean, he's not going to take days off. So I mean,
now that he's here, he's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't take Bryce out of the lineup against a lefty. I mean, that's crazy. But I mean, yeah, they're not going to put Bohm at first base much. I mean, if Bryce would get hurt or something, I'm sure they definitely would, or maybe use Clemens if he's going to be doing what he did there when he came up. But I mean, it's not really anything to worry about. I mean, Bohm, I think he's definitely secured his spot at third base. Like if they need a long-term solution at first, it's not going to be Alec Bohm.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't really have too much else to say on this team, Drew. I mean, if you have any points you want to bring up, feel free. I am just really pleased with this team, and we now go into a series against the Angels. Look, the Angels aren't one of the worst teams in baseball, but they're not good. And the only reason they're not one of the worst is because the White Sox and the Marlins and a few other teams exist too. the White Sox
Yeah.
mostly, because the White Sox, even though they've won lately, still one of the worst teams I think I've seen in the past decade. I mean, they may not hit 40 wins this year. it's
Yeah, it's
it's bad.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, but the Angels, I mean, outside of Mike Trout, I mean, and O'Hoppe. I mean, O'Hoppe is a pretty decent hitter, but he's no Mike Trout, obviously. And I mean, they're not a good team. They can't pitch. They can't mostly hit. I mean, Trout's the only one you really got to worry about. And I mean, it's just a bad team. You got to sweep them and just head back. I think they're going to. Where are they going after this?
I believe they come home to play the Giants. 4-game set.
Okay. Yep, that'll be another relatively easy series. I mean, the Giants aren't terrible, but they're not, great. So
Yeah,
I mean,
you should at least split it.
yeah, definitely. And you should probably win 3. I mean,
Right.
if you face Logan Webb and he shuts you down, you just tip your cap and go to the next one. But I mean, you got to win probably, I would say 6 out of these next 7.
Yeah, you should sweep.
I mean, yeah. But at the end of this stretch, these next 7 games, they should be in first place in the division.
Yeah. I mean, Tuesday will be interesting with obviously Turnbull's on the mound. We'll see how he does in that type of start. But Tyler Anderson has been really, really good to start the season with the Angels. So if they were going to lose, Tuesday might be the game they lose. They'll lose the other 2 games and win that game, now that I say that. But it really hasn't been, like I say that, but it really hasn't been that type of year for the Phillies. Like, they've taken care of business. So if they lose that game, I'm not going to be overly upset about it. But as far as the Giants series goes, again, they should probably pick up 3 of those games. But if they split, I'm not going to be up in arms about it. It's still May.
Right. And the Giants do have some good players. I mean, it's not like the Angels and the White Sox and all those teams. I mean, the Giants can definitely go out there and score 10 runs on any given night. I mean, it's not like they're just walkovers. They're 14-15 right now. So, I mean, they're winning half their games.
Sure.
But, I mean, the way the rotation's looking for that series, it's going to be Nola, and then it'll be Ranger, Sanchez, and then Taiwan. So, no, Taiwan's in between Sanchez and Ranger. So it'll be Nola, Ranger, Taiwan, Sanchez against the Giants.
Yeah. I would think that you should be able to pick up that series. If they split it, they should grab 2 against the Blue Jays. Like, you should win. You should really only lose 2 games out of that 6-game homestand at most.
Right.
I would argue you should win 5 of those games. But
and the Blue Jays are not playing good baseball right now.
They're not. That team, they have had so much hope over the past 3 or 4 years, and they just don't capitalize. It feels kind of, I don't want to say the White Sox rebuild-esque, because that's like a special. There needs to be a whole 30
documentary.
The Tony La Russa stuff, Yerman Mercedes, and the whole, they make the playoffs and then just didn't go, they just didn't work from there. But the Blue Jays is equally embarrassing in its own right. Maybe not equally, but they have changed managers. They have tried a lot of different things. They brought in talent. They're not deficient in talent. They have guys on the roster.
Yeah, definitely.
But they just don't have a culture of winning baseball, it seems, especially in the big moments. So, not that May 7th and 8th of the regular season is a big moment, but the Phillies should take care of business in those games, in my opinion. And then you face Miami. That should be a sweep. No questions asked.
Yeah,
you should.
That's a terrible team. I mean, the fact that they were in the playoffs last year is just kind of crazy. It just tells you how bad the bottom end of the NL was last year. I mean, It was embarrassing. I mean, the Padres didn't make the playoffs last year, and they're terrible too. So, I mean, but the Blue Jays, as far as they go, I think a lot of their problems have been Vlad Guerrero not being what he was in 2020 and 2021, because he has massively struggled the last couple of years.
Yeah.
As far as his standards are going, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, obviously he's still better than a lot of players in the league, but
absolutely,
he's not been at the level he should be at. And then they get the Mets, the Nationals. Rangers will be a tough series, as always, but you finish off the month with Colorado, San Francisco again, and then you start a series with St. Louis. You should have another 20-win month. They should absolutely dominate in May if they keep going at the rate they're going at right now. So they're set up for a good month coming up. But just to focus in on the series coming up here, good opportunity tomorrow for Chris Sanchez to get some confidence back, even with his bad start. It did help that 4 of the 5 runs were unearned in that game. But he's still at an under 3 ERA right now. And I know that's not the perfect judgment of a pitcher, but Drew, I think 1 month in, Christopher Sanchez has looked every bit of the part we thought he would. And there was some concern about him coming to this year. Is he going to follow up what he did last year? Was it just a fluke? I think he's been really good this year. Like, he hasn't been perfect, but you're not going to get perfect from Chris Sanchez. Last year, he had a tough start against the Royals. It wasn't his best game. That's not really a great lineup, but he struggled in that one start. He's just going to have those every once in a while, and that's fine because he's growing, he's developing. It's part of baseball. You're not going to be perfect, but he's been really good this year. I mean, look at Wheeler. He had that game against the Pirates. Not the best line he's had. Didn't even pitch that bad, but it goes down against his line, and that's going to happen on some days. So, with that said, I mean, I feel good about him taking the ball tomorrow. I feel pretty good facing Griffin Canning tomorrow. He has really not been that good for the Angels this year. They should win that game tomorrow. And again, they should win that series. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Sanchez on the mound tomorrow. I think it should be a good bounce back start for him.
Yeah, it definitely should be. I mean, the Angels, like I said, they don't have much hitting. So, I mean, he should probably give you 6 strong innings, 7 strong innings, something like that. Especially, I mean, last time he was pitching, I believe he got a lot of ground balls, if I'm right. But, I mean, if he can do that and get quick outs and stuff, I mean, you could be looking at another complete game out of the rotation. I mean, it's crazy. But, yeah, I mean, this next month of games, I mean, they should win 20 more. I mean, they should be 40-20. There's no excuse they shouldn't be, really.
Yep, I agree with you. Yeah. As far as the division goes, too, like, we're kind of still hovering at that, like, game and a half back, 2 games back mark of the Braves. I think we're eventually going to overtake them, and then I think we're going to kind of take the division lead and not look back. And if they don't, I really I'm not that. I really don't care if we get the 4th wild card spot or the 1st wild card spot, the 4th seed. Who cares? Like, we'll take it. I know it's early to be talking about this, but I just don't see I think it's going to be close. But I think the Phillies will end up winning the division after we're 1 month in now. I think the Strider loss is really big for the Braves. Yeah. I think they will win the division this year.
Yeah, if they have one more starting rotation injury, I mean, they're going to be in a terrible, terrible spot.
Yeah.
Because they have no depth. I mean, they're already using guys that you have no idea who they are in that 5th rotation spot. And if they have one more injury, I mean, Chris Sale, he's bound to go down at some point. I mean, he never pitches full seasons anymore, at least. At one point in his day, he was a workhorse. But, I mean, nowadays, it's like his body's breaking down on him in his older age. I mean, he's not old, but, I mean, you get the point.
Yeah, he was a legend in that 2018 World Series run for the Sox. But,
yeah,
I mean, even similar, Madison Bumgarner was a workhorse in that one World Series run. 2014, I think it was specifically. He phased out pretty quickly. Now, Sale's not at that level of phasing out. I mean, Madison Bumgarner went to the Diamondbacks, and he was just done. There was no – it was kind of like Lincecum, honestly. Funny enough to say. But Sale's still really good, but like you said, he is not going to do what he did back then. So,
yeah.
Let's hope not, at least. that would terrify me. But that said, Drew, I mean, I really don't have a lot else to say on this team. They have been awesome. Yeah. I would love to have something to complain about. It would make for more interesting conversation. But we're kind of in this spot right now where the team is doing what they're supposed to. They're winning the series they're supposed to. Even when they have bumps in the road, they're getting back up and they're fixing those issues in the next series. And we're just kind of in that spot where we're like, all right, everything's happening like it should be. What's the concerns for the playoffs right now? That really is what this whole year is. We're at that point with the Phillies. They made the playoffs the last 2 years. They made it deep into the playoffs too. They haven't capitalized, and we're kind of just in a season where everything is about October. So as for right now, with April wrapping up, I think I've said everything I need to say. I'm really surprised. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up here. Don't feel pressured to, but.
No, yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much covered everything. There's, like you said, there's not a lot to complain about or really talk about. I mean, they're handling business exactly as they should be. I mean, it's kind of rare in baseball, really, because normally you have something to talk about, but it's just been so easy going for the Phils this last 2 weeks.
For sure. Yeah, nothing better than boring baseball in a good way. So
absolutely.
Love that. Go Phils. Good series. Way to get the sweep. Solid week with the split versus the Reds too. The Reds are a solid baseball team. They
definitely
credit for sure.
They're going to win that division. No question.
The Cubs have been pretty good too, so we'll see, and the Brewers as well. So that'll be a tight divisional race, but they should be a contender in that division for sure. But it really feels like there is a big gap between the Reds 15-13 and the Cardinals 13-15. That it feels night and day between those two teams. The Cardinals do not scare me that much, which if you had told me I would have said that a year ago, I would have called you crazy. It's
Yeah.
really weird. So
The Cardinals are probably going to lose 95 games. I mean,
they may.
they're bad. I mean, they don't have any hitting. Their starting pitching is not good outside of Sonny Gray, and I mean, Goldschmidt is obviously in the very, very back end of his career at this point. So,
yeah, they should sell at the deadline. I would be surprised if they weren't in that spot. But
yeah.
Anyway, I really don't have too much else to say on the Phils. Like we said, I've said that about 4 or 5 times now. But guys, thank you for tuning in. If you did, Sunday night recap here, and we will be back at some point this week. At the latest, we'll be back probably next Sunday doing another weekly recap, but we'll see if we can get something going to recap the Angels series. And yeah, stay tuned. Keep up with the Discord. Keep up with the community tab. We'll be keeping you guys updated there. Anything you want to say, Drew?
Nope. And make sure you join the Discord. I mean, like I said in the last couple of pods, that's the best way to keep up with us. So definitely join that. And other than that, I mean, pretty much it.
Yeah. Thank you guys for tuning in again. God bless y'all. We'll see you guys later. Peace.